The ramp drops. The German machine guns roar. And Tom Hanks suffers what most action movies ignore: reality. Storming the beach with his rifle in a plastic bag so it does not jam from the wet sand. Few movies are realistic enough to do that, which makes Saving Private Ryan one of the contenders for the title of this video, for getting guns right. But before we give out medals, it helps to know what is gun realism. Based on my time in the military and as a competitive shooter, there are three things I need to see before I can say a movie even begins to approach gun realism. First, tactics and movement. The film must accurately depict small unit tactics such as bonding overwatch, sector responsibility, and actual frantic verbal communications over the roar of gunfire. Second, cover versus concealment. Cover is for protection. Concealment is for hiding. Sheet metal, drywall, and wooden doors do not stop bullets. The characters must use geometry and dense material to survive. Third, physical and mechanical realism. Trained shooters should reload, clear jams, and holster their guns the same way every time because of muscle memory. Wounded characters cannot magically ignore human physiology. I will rate each movie contender on a scale of 1 to 5 for each criteria and add it up to see who gets the most points. Contender 1, Sicario. For the first time, but not the last, Benicio del Toro appears in this video. Here he is, clearing a house near the border. It looks like a real room clearing operation. And his character is not the only one that knows how to handle a gun. The Delta operators display fantastic muzzle discipline. Not everyone does that though.
Put that down.
I mean it. Move away from him right now.
Don't ever point a weapon at me again.
There are still a few parts that do not quite add up for someone that's supposed to be of this level of experience. Muzzle discipline is not always as high as what those Delta operators showed. Rating 4 out of 5. Cover and concealment. When the cartel's vehicles are identified as a threat, the operators exit their SUVs and use the vehicles themselves as cover. They fire from behind and around the cars, rather than standing fully exposed. The SUVs act as solid cover, engine blocks, doors and bodywork, while the dense traffic and surrounding vehicles also provide some concealment and complicate the enemy's angles. The engagement is short, controlled, and decisive. They identify threats, take positions behind cover, and neutralize them quickly instead of prolonged spraying. Rating 4 out of 5. Physical realism. Sicario is stronger on tactical realism, positioning, discipline, control fire, use of cover, than on pure ballistic physics. Alejandro's suppressed pistol and some other suppressed weapons sound much quieter than real suppressors. In reality, a suppressed 9mm or 45 is still quite loud. More like a loud clap or sharp crack than the near-silent woo Hollywood often uses. Sicario leans into the quieter movie convention, especially in the more intimate or tense moments. The film does a better job with the visual side, the physical size and presence of the suppressors, than with the actual sound design. Recoil is handled reasonably well for a modern action film. Operators show control, muzzle rise and recovery, especially during the border ambush and tunnel sequences. The shooting looks disciplined rather than floaty or exaggerated. Rating 3 out of 5. Overall, 11 out of 15 points. Contender 2, John Wick. Keanu trained hard for this role, and it shows. But he was not the only one. The entire production team did their homework, starting with the guns themselves. Tactics. Since Keanu trained with a legitimate shooting champion for this role, his reloads, the holstering, target acquisition, and use of ammunition are all more realistic than 90% of action movies. John Wick still has more ammunition than any real person would, but it's a comparatively minor offense in the genre we are talking about. John Wick does not fight in a squad, but he does fight against multiple people the way an individual should if he wants to maximize his chances of living. Rating 4 out of 5. Cover and concealment. John Wick's use of cover and concealment is genuinely excellent.
Excellent.
The hero does not take shelter behind walls of sheet metal or plywood. He uses steel or concrete that can actually stop bullets, and does so consistently. There are no errors in the movies with this. The use of concealment also flows well with John Wick's tactics. He uses his cover not only for defense but offensively. It's a setup for him to move, create angles, and disrupt the enemy's momentum. He never points his muzzle at things that are not a threat, or spray bullets wildly while moving from one straight to the next. He never even puts his finger on the trigger until he's ready to shoot. And he usually avoids his enemy's line of fire instead of crossing it like so many other movies do. Of course, there are limitations. The gun-fu choreography, mid-flight reloads, and trigger discipline might be based on real training, but it's exaggerated to meet an unreachable ideal. It might be more real than whatever Rambo and Arnold's characters do. Nobody moves through a room shooting 4 center mass hits per target with that consistency while getting shot at themselves. Beautiful, not real. If anyone real tried to fight multiple enemies like that, he would not last long. Rating 4 out of 5. Physical realism. John Wick actually deals with weapon jams. That's more than most action heroes have to worry about. The way he clears the jams is also accurate. It's not with the speed that most actual human beings can do, but the mechanical process is correct, and that's more than you can say about almost any action movie. The recoil and injuries are handled a little optimistically though. Let's just put it that way. Even with body armor, taking hits like he did will still leave him at best unable to continue to fight. Rating 4 out of 5. Overall, 12 out of 15 points. If you want to see how Keanu Reeves actually trained for the role of John Wick, watch this video next. Contender 3. Heat. The most famous bank robbery scene in Hollywood's history got that way for a reason. What you are seeing are legit firearms shooting legit blank rounds. But that's not enough. Tactics. It helped that Michael Mann put De Niro, Pacino, and Kilmer through real firearms training. You can see this in the actors' muzzle discipline and the way they handle their reloads. The characters do not stay in one spot, and they leapfrog in short control sprints. They use cover fire and coordinated movements. Rating 5 out of 5. Cover and concealment. The characters almost exclusively use real proper cover, such as engine blocks and wheel wells. They stay behind vehicles, concrete barriers, and solid structures, rather than just hiding behind flimsy objects. Rating 4 out of 5. Physical realism. Because of the reloads, the use of ammunition was what you would expect for these types of weapons. Characters actually run out of ammunition, and have to reload. There's no infinite magazine Hollywood magic. The standard moment is Val Kilmer's reload during the downtown shootout. He drops the empty magazine from his Colt Model 733, grabs a fresh one from his gear, taps it to seal the rounds, inserts it, and continues fighting, all in one continuous smooth sequence with no cuts. Rating 4 out of 5. Overall, 13 out of 15 points. Contender 4, Saving Private Ryan. There are no larger-than-life action heroes here, so that helps. But what makes Saving Private Ryan go above and beyond is its commitment to battlefield realism. Tactics. There are no 80s action heroics in this 90s movie. Anyone trying too hard to be a hero dies. Soldiers are afraid and often reluctant to move under fire. Cover is life. Exposed movement is punished. Machine guns dominate the battlefield and force infantry to use suppression and maneuver. Communication and small unit leadership matter. Miller constantly has to organize and push his men. Combat is exhausting, confusing, and costly. Characters pay close attention to angles and potential enemy fields of fire. The scene with the German sniper showed how much it mattered that everyone was moving in the right way. Rating 5 out of 5. Cover and concealment. The use of cover and concealment is impressive. However, look at the final battle. When the squad sniper, Private Jackson, took too many shots from that tower. He was accurate in his shooting, but shooting so much from that tower was a mistake because the enemy recognized where he was. This is why real snipers try not to take more than one shot from any one location. It might be different in the heat of a battle like this, but shooting that much from an obvious spot guaranteed he would be targeted by that tank. But that's an obvious detail. Saving Private Ryan gets the harder details right as well. Characters use rubble piles and shredded buildings for cover. Sometimes they're successful. Sometimes the bullets rip right through the walls. You see something like the reality of urban combat in Saving Private Ryan. Rating 4 out of 5. Physical realism. The gun mechanics are fantastic. It nailed the iconic ping sound the M1 Garand makes when it ejects a spent clip. But that's the easy part to get right. The producers took time to show us what happens when guns get exposed to mud or salt water. They jam.
Stand out of your weapon. Keep those actions clear. I'll see you on the beach.
The characters have to clear the jams in the heat of a firefight on the beach during the day. The use of ammunition is generally realistic too, although it stretches it at some points, like during the final battle, but that's to be expected. Saving Private Ryan is still an action movie. Rating 5 out of 5. Overall, 14 out of 15 points. Before we get to our winner, we have an honorable mention for Collateral. It deserves an honorable mention because look right here. It's Tom Cruise doing the Mozambique drill, better known as great pistol work, great grip, stance, and presentation, with realistic treatment of magazines and ammo. The highlight is the alley scene where Vincent puts 2 rounds in one guy, then he follows by a classic Mozambique drill on the other, with 2 rounds to the chest, 1 to the head. Calm, control, exactly what a professional would do in close quarters. There is one thing all these movies have in common. They show characters that know how to shoot. The next movie shows how to actually survive a gunfight.
The right.
Contender 5, The Way of the Gun. You might have heard of it, but Maybe you did not. It did not make a huge splash when it came out in 2000, but Christopher McQuarrie brought in his brother, a Marine Corps veteran, to prepare Ryan Phillippe and Benicio del Toro for their roles as a pair of career criminals who kidnap a surrogate mother connected to the mob. Tactics. Just watch the abduction scene. It feels like a real room clearing action. It's tight, controlled, and carried out like real professionals would carry it out. Just compare this footage to real room clearing training at Camp Lejeune. That is what happens when you consult a professional warrior. It's almost unsettling in how procedural the scene feels, which is the point.
There. I think I made my point.
Then there is that final scene in the courtyard. Philippe and Del Toro move as a coordinated binary element, executing bonding overwatch, where enemy contact is expected, but you do not know where they are. Each move is short from one position of cover to another. While one man moves, the other man provides overwatch and has immediate fire support available. When one character runs low on ammunition, he yells cover or last round. The other immediately fills the sector with suppressing fire, calling out go. This is actual military methodology. The characters do not just look at what they're shooting, they look at their entire sectors of fire. They slice corners like real professionals, pacing their movements based on mechanical reloads rather than cinematic drama. That is also why there is no slow motion hero shot, no one-liner mid-engagement, none of the stylization that even Heat and John Wick lean on at times. Rating 5 out of 5. Cover and concealment. One scene shows an ambush near a car. They do not go behind the door for good reasons. The characters in the way of the gun know that a car door cannot stop a high-caliber round. It will not even reliably stop a 9mm round. So they drop completely flat to the asphalt, packing themselves tightly behind the front tires and the heavy cast iron engine block. They understand the ballistic mass. Everything else on that vehicle is nothing more than concealment. If they stay behind the door, they die. There is no instance where the movie does not get cover and concealment right. Rating 5 out of 5. Mechanical realism. Just look at one of the iconic guns in the movie. The 1911 Colt is one of the weapons of choice. In most movies, the hero shoots this and the bad guys go down. They do not show that in real life. It has a recoil spring weight of 16 pounds. Reloads and jams get done as a professional would do them, without a cut to hide the actor fumbling it. Reloads happen because the gun is empty, not because the scene needed a beat. Malfunctions get handled the way you would actually handle them, without a cutaway to hide the actor fumbling it, and in a way that real people have to do it. Not impossible levels of cool like John Wick. One of the most accurate scenes comes when Benicio del Toro's character is wounded in the arm. It is not a temporary inconvenience. The way of the gun shows him having to reload the hard way, not by heroically overcoming the pain, but by using the heel of his boot and the harsh stone edge of a concrete fountain to hook the rear side notch of his pistol, violently driving the gun downward to cycle the slide against his own body weight. That is mechanical reality, not a temporary inconvenience. It plays more like surveillance footage than cinema, and that's exactly why it does not get remembered the way Heat does. It is not trying to be cool, it is trying to be correct. Maybe that is why a lot of people have never heard of it, but it still get 5 for a perfect 15 points. Even with a perfect score, no movie is flawless. There are a few things the movie gets wrong. The way of the gun cannot escape the blueprint for the third act of an action film, where almost every long firefight strains plausibly on ammunition and casualty count. even though the gap between movie and reality is as small here as it has ever gotten. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and click notify. It helps me making more videos like this.